Debt is your fault. That's the story. You spent too much. You didn't save enough. You made bad decisions. And now you're carrying a balance you can't quite shake. A payment that follows you from month to month, like a shadow you can't outrun. But here's what nobody in that story mentions. Your debt is somebody else's income. And that somebody, at the very top of the system, isn't a bank. It isn't a credit card company. It's the government. And they don't just benefit from your debt. They need it. They have built an entire economic architecture around it. And the moment you stop borrowing, the whole thing starts to wobble. Let's go back to the beginning. After World War II, the United States had a problem. It had spent an extraordinary amount of money winning a war. And now, it had to figure out what to do with a population that had been through 15 years of depression and rationing. The answer wasn't austerity. The answer was consumption. The government needed Americans to spend, to borrow, to buy houses, cars, appliances, to turn the economy into a machine that ran on demand. So they made debt easy. Mortgage programs expanded. Consumer credit grew. The idea of paying for things you didn't yet have the money for stopped being shameful and started being called the American dream. This wasn't an accident. It was policy. Here's the mechanism most people never see. When you borrow money, you create economic activity. You buy a house, construction workers get paid. Lumber companies get contracts. Real estate agents earn commissions. Local governments collect property taxes. You swipe a credit card. Retailers stay open. Warehouses keep moving. Logistics companies stay profitable. Every dollar of your debt ripples outward through the economy in ways that look, on paper, like growth. GDP, the number governments use to measure how healthy an economy is, goes up when people spend. It doesn't much care whether that spending came from savings or from debt. So governments have a structural incentive to keep you borrowing, not because they want you to suffer, but because your borrowing is their growth. And here's the uncomfortable part. It goes even deeper than that. Governments themselves borrow massively. The United States is currently carrying over $34 trillion in national debt. The UK, Japan, France, virtually every developed economy on earth is running on borrowed money. And the way governments service that debt, the way they make it manageable, is through something called inflation. When prices rise, the real value of old debt shrinks. A debt that was enormous in 1990 becomes more manageable in 2024 because the currency itself is worth less. Governments know this. Central banks know this. A moderate, steady level of inflation is not a bug in the system. It is the system. And who pays for inflation? You do. Through rising prices. Through a salary that doesn't quite keep up. Through savings that quietly lose value while your fixed rate debt stays the same. Which, ironically, is the one moment debt actually works in your favor. There's a word for what happens when consumers stop borrowing. It's called a recession. When people pay down debt instead of taking on new debt, spending contracts, businesses close, unemployment rises, and governments panic. We saw it in 2008. We saw the Federal Reserve cut rates to zero to make borrowing cheap again. We saw stimulus checks designed not just to help people, but to keep money moving through the system. The lesson governments took from that crisis wasn't that debt was dangerous. It was that debt needed to be sustained. The machine had to keep running. So the next time someone tells you that your personal debt is a personal failure, consider the alternative framing. You are a participant in a system that was engineered to produce exactly this outcome. The credit card offer in your mailbox, the 0% financing, the student loan, the mortgage, none of these are accidents. They are features. Products designed by institutions that profit from your balance and supported by governments that need your spending to call themselves successful. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as intended. The only question worth sitting with is for whom.